Hey, everybody, welcome back to our midweek update. Another beautiful Wednesday, and it's great to be with you. This is Fitz. I'm Jonathan, and we do this every week. If maybe this is your first time ever on the midweek update, checking this out. We just do this every week just to share some exciting things going on here at OCC, make sure everybody's in the know, and we just like to hang out and chat a little bit. So that's always fun. Hope you guys are doing well out there, having a great week so far, staying safe and healthy. We wrapped up the Essential Business series this past Sunday. Just a great finish, a strong finish in sending at the end of the service there. If you haven't checked it out yet, if you missed Sunday live in person or online, don't forget you can watch it on demand right off of our homepage on our website. And make sure you stay up with us, stay in tune with everything that's going on around here through that resource, especially on Sunday mornings. Want to remind you of a couple things coming up. One is our fall festival, Fitz. That's coming up October 24th.
Cars and candy. You can't go wrong with that, man.
Cars and candy. Woo-hoo. That's right. Yeah. We know we've got some even some staff involved in that. Our own Mark Ledford will be showing off his Trans Am that he bought. It's kind of the Knight Rider model, except it's not black. I think it's
yellow. Man.
Yellow, So look for the yellow Trans Am.
80s school bus yellow.
That's right. He's proud of it, man.
Yeah,
it's a project with him and his son, just kind of tuning it up and spending time together. So neat thing. You'll see all kinds of cars, a lot of fun things for the kids to do.
Yeah.
The family to do together.
I'll be there with my small group giving out candy, so you'll have all kinds of characters there too, man. We'll be dressing up for it.
Yeah. So we'll remind you again about that next week, but we're just 10 days out, October 24th from noon to 3. Now coming right up this Sunday, we're finally here, Fitz. We're starting this new series called Separation of Church and Hate, and the final countdown into 1st of November and the election. And we want to really challenge and equip you guys in our church to enter into this season and be on the other side of the season in a healthy, loving way, and really talk about what we're called to do. Not who we're supposed to vote for per se, but just how we live through and in our current situation in our society. This is a quick clip, kind of a teaser clip, just to help you prepare for Sunday. Check this out. Yeah, I love the message of that at the end.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
That's so true. That's the thing. It's not so much about who we vote for, but who we represent as followers of Christ. That if we don't represent our faith well, who we vote for really doesn't amount to much. And our bigger calling, an election that is important, but not eternal in what it's. Every decision is important. But the one we follow is the eternal one, and that is that's far more important than these other things. So we got to just get those pieces in the right order. So be praying ahead and participate with us. Be there in person or online this Sunday, 9 and 11, as we launch the new series, Separation of Church and Hate. We want to spend the rest of our time here with you guys, just sharing some news regarding our staff and updates and what God's doing in the lives of some of our folks. Fitz, I know we've talked about this from day one, and as you were considering coming here, that the health of the staff and the team that you would, in a sense, be inheriting, but really coming alongside and partnering and ultimately leading. And we're a year into it now. I think you still feel the same way. It's a good group of people on mission, the right team of people.
Yeah. And so, and you were at West Side for several years. I've been at Okolona for a long time. You spend any fair amount of time with an organization or on a team. It's inevitable that there'll be transitions. And sometimes those are challenging. Other times it's a celebration, and we're glad that this is really a celebration of God's hand in the lives of three of our staff. We've spent some time with all of them, just talking about God's call in their life and what's next, and where can they just be optimally, that's a big word, used for the kingdom. I always think there's two really consistent things we see in staff transitions over the years. One is just that, God's calling, and one that we can't ignore. When God says it's time to wrap this up and move on to this, whatever that is, it's good to obey that.
Yeah, that was always, one of my prayers when I was in a different role at a different church was, God, if you want me to stay, give me the courage to be faithful to stay. And if you want me to go, give me the courage to be faithful to go. And really looking for that, and then God showed me where and show me when. And so there's transition in, there's transition out, and those times are moving. And then there's the second point.
And family is one of those big ones. For if you guys know Christy and I, Christy grew up in Colorado, and that's where all her parents are, and her sister, and where she grew up, and we always knew that if the opportunity ever came to leave OCC. That would be a pretty big reason to do it. Why? To be closer to family, and so sometimes, and that's huge. Family's everything, and to have the opportunity sometimes when that's best, and that's the situation with our first individual we want to talk about. You guys know and love her. This is Miranda Mook. She came on with us about 4 years ago, took over our elementary ministry. And to this day, one of the things we've loved about her so much is her freshness, her energy, her excitement, her passion and love for kids. But
that smile just captures it all.
That's right her.
There. That is her.
That is definitely her. Yeah,
bringing the joy.
She's entering into a season right now where being close to family is really important for her, and so she's going to take advantage of that opportunity right now to move back closer, back up towards Cincinnati, and be real close to family up there. That transition's going to happen at the end of the year, so she will be with us, kind of finishing out this semester with us, and working real close with Susan, just making sure we have a really healthy transition. In continuity there for our kids. That's her first concern is making sure that program is in a good place as she wraps things up. So December 31st will be her final official day with us. So but wanted to get that in front of you now, and just that's coming, and we're working real close with her on that transition. The next one, this is Ian, and you've seen him in main service a lot as one of our worship leaders. His primary role with us over the last 4.5 years has been in student worship. And not just worship, but really just pouring into the lives of our students. He's been right there kind of as a sidekick with Corey, and going on retreats and events, and just spending a lot of time with our students. But most importantly, that aspect of worship. And he is such a sage, a growing spiritual formation type guy, and a position came open. Some folks reached out to him a few months ago about that type of opportunity where he could still incorporate his worship leading, but in the context of spiritual formation.
Which in the church world, that just doesn't happen. That's not a position that many churches have. And so we had this guy on our staff who that's what he's wired for. This position came open. It's a great church. The location,
Vero Beach, Florida.
When you find the right position and it's on a beach in Florida, and you're a young guy, it's hard to say no. Louisville's great. This was an upgrade for the Fitz fam a year ago. Florida's pretty nice too.
It's the church is Pillar Community Church. You can look it up online in Vero Beach, Florida. And just a really unique and exciting opportunity that just fits Ian and Jordy so well. They are just overwhelmed with God's providence in hand in all of this, as are we, and so excited and thrilled for them. So he'll be wrapping up. His last Sunday will be November 1st with us. He's going to be leading worship this coming Sunday, actually, in main service, and that'll kind of be his last official formal opportunity, although we were just talking the other day that it will likely happen that at some point he'll come back to visit, and we'll put him up there on the stage and have him lead out in some way. But you won't be seeing the last of Ian. His mom and dad are still here. Of course, his dad's Larry is one of our elders, so they'll have plenty of reason to come back. But we joked at least in the next 6 months we'll have more reason to go down there than to come here, with the weather. So he'll wrap up over the next few weeks. They'll be moving the first week in November and jumping right in. I think his first Sunday there is November 11th. They've got a house already. A lot of things have fallen into place for them. So just super excited for Ian and Jordy in this big transition in their life, but looking forward to what God's going to do. Our last and third transition here is with Mac. He is you've seen him on the platform occasionally. His primary role here has been a whole lot of behind the scenes. You see the fruit of his labor with so much of our technology and audio and sound and video and lighting, and he's been here 6.5 years, which in the nature of the type of work that he does is a long term role. There's a lot of wear and tear physically with that, and that's been one of the challenges, he's ready and has an opportunity to move into a little bit more of an overseeing role here in Louisville, actually, with the church out on the northeast side of town, Northeast Christian Church. And so we're just excited for Mac, a new fresh opportunity for him, but so grateful for just a ton of time that he's poured into helping move the quality of our services and the technology of our services forward, and the time he's poured into the team, and fun guy, super creative guy to be around. You spent time with him, a great family, Courtney and the kids, and so they'll be transitioning out there. His first Sunday at Northeast is actually right at the end of the month. It's coming right up, October 27th. He'll start there, and so October 25th will be his last Sunday with us. So that's the news we wanted to share with you today. Little perspective, just as anytime you have staff transitions, it's important to have perspective, and Fitz is going to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I only haven't been here a little over a year, and we're a decent sized church. We've got a decent sized staff. We're not small and we're not huge. We're kind of in that middle zone there. But for me to come in and then a year later. It was about a month ago. I gave an exercise to our staff to look at our giftedness, the things we're most passionate about, and then explore our sense of calling. And I think it's a good thing for all believers to do regularly, is to examine our sense of calling and see if that's changed. Is God calling me to a different role, a different spot, a different, whatever it might be? I did not intend for 3 of our staff to then transition out. And that exercise wasn't the thing that led them to that. It just happened to coincide with the decisions they were already making. Yeah. And it was cool to see the Holy Spirit at work in that, to give them an exercise here on this staff that affirmed the decisions they were making and gave us a great place to have that conversation. It's been just encouraging to talk to these 3 as I've gotten to know them. Miranda and Ian have done a lot for the Fitz kids, helping us transition into this role. Mac has worked pretty closely with me over the last year, and so a good friendship there. Yeah. All of them leaving on great terms, but I'm also aware that in the past there have been transitions. Mm-hmm. And not all transitions are smooth. Not all of them go well. Not all of them are communicated in the same ways. And so some of them can kind of hurt, and some of them can be kind of fearful. I know that when I transitioned in, it was after 1.5 years of having somebody transition out of the lead role. And that's a little unsettling for the church. So it would be... we'd be missing it if we didn't acknowledge that there's a little bit of scar tissue and maybe a little even PTSD from some previous seasons of staff transition. We've got 3 of our staff. They're all pretty young. They're transitioning out at the same time. The normal thing to do is say, is everything okay? What's going on? Is it? And we just want you to hear from us. Yeah, everything's okay. We're going to miss these 3 individuals. We're going to miss these 3 people. We love them. There is a shared appreciation that they're leaving on great terms. And so there's nothing negative about this transition. As much as God is calling them, we also want to just join in the sending and say, man, we send you with blessing and with joy, and we are cheering you on, and we'll miss them, but we're also confident that this upcoming season, anytime you have transition, it brings some challenge. But as a leadership team, we see a whole lot more opportunity than we do challenge. Well, we see God's hand in this in big ways. The season we're in and what this positions us for, to be agile and flexible as a team and as an organization. So definitely we're going to miss those 3 individuals. We'll celebrate them, and when they're back around, we'll love to connect with them. But things are okay. There's no hole in the ship. We want to assure you that this is not a bad transition season. This is natural. 3 of our younger staff at that season of life making some really wise and healthy decisions for their future. And so it happens that it coincides, and they're doing it at the same time. Not always if I could script it and prescribe that for someone, it's probably not the way I would want to see it happen necessarily. But at the same time, man, it's good in a lot of ways. So we just want to assure you that things are healthy. We have a healthy culture, getting healthier all the time here as a staff culture, as a staff team, it's a good season. I think
the important thing to know too, without going into any kind of detail now, is we work really hard not to just be reactionary when things happen. We don't know the future every day. That there's always a curveball to some degree.
COVID was a pretty good example of that.
Yeah. And so, but that's where the opportunity is, and so, and not just reacting in a way of, well, it's just we had this and we just replace things, or it's kind of like with COVID and things. We just want to go back to the way things were. Moving forward means you really don't go back, and that could play out in these positions. In other words, another one of your questions. Well, how are we going to replace anyone? We're down 3 staff, and we don't really look at it that way because we're always in the process of restructuring in a sense. It's important for our staff to know that you may be doing one thing for a season, but that won't last forever. Right. Now these situations,
there's creativity in that process,
right?
And there's the movement of God within that allows for that opportunity piece.
Yeah, positions that we've defined and hired at a particular season may not be relevant or necessary in the way they were 5 years ago, and so that, again, the opportunity side for this and what we're already doing is reassessing operationally what's the best way and what type of staff do we need to move into the next 5 years, and that may look completely different than it did. So it would be unwise of us to go out today and post all 3 of these positions and just try to rehire them. Rather, no, we assess what did we learn over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and what's the best way to move forward. And so know that. Don't just assume or get restless when you're like, why aren't we rehiring a new Miranda or a new Mac or a new N? Well, the reason is we probably won't. It will look different in some way, and our goal is that not just to be different, but to be better. And that would be what any one of these 3 would say is hey, whatever I left, don't feel obligated to that. Just make it better. Just take wherever we are today and go to the next place with that, whatever that looks like. And so join us in praying for God's wisdom in that, and trusting Him for that. But also know, like Fitz said, man, we are so excited about the opportunities. 2021, we're trusting is going to be one of these extraordinary years on the other side of all this as we get into it. And these are just part of the moving pieces that are starting to form that out.
Yeah, I like something you said a moment ago with, we have a tendency to look back and we want to go back. Yeah. And sometimes we say, well, I want to go back to normal, during this COVID season. I want to go back to normal. I want to go back to the way it was. I want to go back to the good old days. And sometimes we forget that the good old days also had their challenges. And what we miss in that is that God isn't a God of going backwards. God is a God of moving forward. And our God is always doing something new. New birth, new days, new wineskins, newness. He is making all things new. And so it's okay for us to appreciate where we've been, but also to look with anticipation on where we're going and what is ahead. Yeah. And so we look with anticipation just with these three individuals. We look with appreciation on what they've done, the contribution they've made to this church, how we are better now than we were when they arrived. But we also look with anticipation to what God's going to do using those three people in different places to continue to accomplish His good work and His new work in this world. And we look with anticipation to what God's going to do, who He's going to bring here, and what is going to take place in the next season. And I'm a dreamer by nature. I'm an optimist by nature. But I get that from looking at Scripture. I get that from looking at the end of the book and saying that the one who is making all things new is the sovereign God over all of this. He's in control. He's at work. His hands are on it. And we are moving towards something beautiful with the consummation of history. So, we move forward full steam ahead, looking forward to what God is going to do with this next season.
Yeah. So we want to encourage you to feel the same way. You're processing on the front side of this, so we get that. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Also, we talked specifically about, do we do this through this medium as far as the initial sharing of this information, and I was so grateful for Fitz's perspective, because we don't have anything to hide, and this isn't like there are times when there will be kind of member only, stakeholder only type conversations. This isn't one of them, because we think this is healthy, this is God at work, and we just want to talk openly about it. So don't hesitate to share this. Talk about it. What I don't want you to do is speculate, and fill in blanks with things that are, like Fitz said, surely there must be. It is what it is. What we've shared is what we know and what we believe is happening. And so don't hesitate to share the news. Share it in a way that's exciting, and God's working. And so let's just celebrate that. And we're like I said, moving forward. So So thank you guys again for hanging out with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you Sunday for the start of Separation Church and State. Until then, have a great rest of the week. We love you. Take care.